act on that? Or do you think that Russia and Ukraine will continue to drift apart? And if you look at the background of the special representative who has just been nominated, what do you think of that? The interests of Russia and Ukraine, the Russian and the Ukrainian peoples, I'm absolutely convinced of that, converge, coincide. Our interests fully coincide. Perhaps today's leadership of Ukraine doesn't converge with ours and certain ruling circles. But if you look at the situation objectively, then obviously Russia and Ukraine are interested in cooperation. They're interested in making sure that their competitive edges are combined to develop the economy. If only because there is a huge legacy from Soviet times. I mean, cooperation, a unified infrastructure, energy system, transport system, but unfortunately our present Ukrainian colleagues refer to look aside from that. There is one trade, one commodity which is really successful there at the moment, and that is Russophobia. They are trading in dividing Russia from Ukraine, dragging the one from the other. Some people seem to like that in the West. Some consider that the converging Russia and Ukraine should never happen. So I would just say that there is a very active and unsuccessful trade in the commodity of Russophobia at the moment. I think we have to concentrate on making sure that the situation comes to a halt as soon as possible as far as the participation of the U.S. is concerned and in the settlement of the Ukrainian crisis. We did talk about that with President Trump, and he talked about the measures in hand and the nomination of this special representative who will be working on a continual basis in contact with Russia, with Ukraine, and with everybody, all the vested interests who have an interest in putting an end to it. I have a question on the Middle East, which is in turmoil at the moment, whether we talk about Syria or Qatar and some other countries as well. Presumably you had in the G20 discussions about Syria, and after these discussions and the recent meeting in Astana, how do you see political settlement? Do you think that a more constructive attitude is going to be adopted by the present administration of the US or not? And on Qatar, if I may, how do you assess the situation? Was it discussed at the G20? And if you will, a real report you're giving me. Well, I don't always get the opportunity to ask you a lot of questions, but on the question of terrorism, I think that it was rather difficult for you to come to an agreement within the G20 on this. What were the contradictions about? Well, I don't see that at all. I don't think anyone had any kind of objections. Maybe there was a problem about wording, but frankly speaking, I don't know about that. All I know is that the text was agreed. And at any rate, at the level of heads of delegations, heads of government and states, we didn't have any friction or any disagreement about it. As far as I know, or as far as everybody realizes, this is a common threat and we have to combat it. As far as Qatar is concerned, this question was not raised. It is a rather acute one for the region, particularly with regard to the economy and the energy sector and security in the region as a whole. But this question was not discussed through the discussions at the G20. Certainly, we did discuss with all my colleagues the situation in Syria, whether or not the U.S. situation or position has changed. I don't know, but I think that it has become more pragmatic. don't think it's really changed, but I think that there is an understanding that by pooling our resources we can get good results. And we did have the discussion, for example, the agreement on the southern zone yesterday, the de-escalation area. Nobody seemed to respond to that, but I think that this is really one of the rules which we obtained, a real result of collective work with President Trump. And Jordan and a couple of other countries in the region were locked into that process. Israel too. We shall certainly be having consultations with them in the near future, and I think this is a real specific result. So if we think about other areas of de-escalation, today, for example, we talked very much in detail about this with the President of Turkey. And, to some extent, it doesn't really depend only on us. It depends on the clashes between various other countries in the region. Everybody has their own concerns, their own preferences, their own interests, and legitimate interests as well. So we have to see them as legitimate interests, and we have to look for compromise. Sometimes we manage it. We have actually put an end to active combat. The fact that we have de-escalation areas already is already a huge step forward. Now what we have to do is to agree where the confines, the specific confines of the regions are, what kind of a security arrangement will be in place. This is very painstaking and at first glance boring, but extraordinarily important work. And I think one of the positive results which we've obtained recently, particularly the goodwill of Iran, Turkey, obviously President Assad and the Syrian government, with their goodwill, I think we can really achieve a lot. We confirmed that in the document on the formation of a southern de-escalation area on the Jordanian zone and the area adjoining the Golan Heights. Essentially what the final objective is territorial integrity for Syria, and to make sure that this area can actually work with others around them and with the official government in Syria. If we manage that, I think this will be a good base, a good premise for settling by political means this Syrian crisis. RIA Novosti. Gushakova, you've already talked about intervention in elections, but there are the German elections now. Yes, you're in Germany. Yes, in Germany in September there are elections. Is Russia planning to intervene? Did you tell Angela Merkel about that? This is a real provocational question, I already told you that we didn't intervene in US, so why should we intervene in anyone else's business? Germany is our very good neighbor. It's one of our major trading partners in the world as a whole. We have on our agenda major projects which we are supporting. There's the Northern Stream, Stream 2. There were no problems or disputes about it. There were contradictions and so on. But this is perfectly obvious. It's in the interests of the economy of Europe and the economy of Germany. Why should we intervene in political processes? We've got enough to do without that. If you look at the German press, European French press, they are constantly interfering in our domestic business. And we couldn't care less. NBC News. Oh, you're going to ask the question together? Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd like to ask you a question about the meeting with Mr. Trump. You've already been asked about that. No, you should ask him how he felt it went. We didn't intervene. Unfortunately, from the White House, we haven't got any information about this. Couldn't you? Well, we're going to punish them very strictly, very severely. When you said that Russia hadn't intervened in the US elections, what did he say? He asked questions. He was genuinely interested in a number of details. As far as I could, I answered him in detail. As far as I understand, there was a dialogue with the previous US administration about that with President Obama, but I'm certainly not going to reveal details of my conversations with Obama. That's not part of sort of presidential protocol. I think it would be very incorrect of me to reveal details about my conversations with President Trump in the same way. He asked me questions, I answered, I clarified, and I think that he was satisfied with my answers. Coming back to the acceleration of economic growth, let me explain. If you probably know that a number of working groups are already organized. There is the Titov's group with the business community. There's another working group headed by Mr. Kudrin. He's brought together a lot of authoritative experts, and we have to come up with a plan which would be acceptable and the right one to undertake the next steps for 2017. And we have to look at all the proposals, assess them, and then finally take a decision. Maybe we will come up with something not based on these proposals. Maybe it will be based on them. But we have to work on it. We have to explore those possibilities. And obviously, the government has already done a lot of work in this area, and we will be relying a lot on the government proposals. But we cannot, disregard the work which Kudrin's group has done. They've come up with individual proposals, and we are now working on what will be the final idea, the final options. There are absolutely no secrets about this. We have to we would be doing wrong to anticipate the final outcome. It would be premature to publicize things yet. Izvestia, again on domestic policy. I know that you are familiar with the Cortege car. Are you going to inaugurate it and drive it in 2017? I know nothing about that. But do you not want to actually drive this car? No, I didn't, because the car isn't ready. You know this car isn't ready. You have a drive first. You have a ride round. Tell me how it is, and then I'll join you. RT. Maybe the final question. You've already talked about your meeting with Erdogan. Could you clarify whether the first northern area is concerned, did you talk about the Afrin area and the Kurds and the Russian center? The Turkish media are talking about a putsch and an invasion by the Turkish army there. And what do you think about the statements made in the media that President Assad has no political future? Well, let me begin with the last part of your question. Mr. Tillerson is a very respectable individual. He is very friendly to Russia and so on, but he's not a Syrian citizen. The future of Syria and the future of President Assad, that decision on their future should be taken by the Syrian citizens themselves. As far as the second part, the Kurds are concerned, this is a very tricky question. It's got many different aspects. We are in contact with them. We make no secret of that. But first of all, I would say that our American colleagues are much ahead of us in safeguarding their activity. They've done much more work with them than we have. Our servicemen who are in control of monitoring the ceasefire regime are present in lots of regions of Syria. They certainly confirm that the ceasefire arrangements are in place, but as far as the other regions are concerned, I really don't know. They are really carrying out functions which everybody's interested in, but we certainly don't think that they're preparing for some kind of combat. We believe that our preliminary work on creating the de-escalation areas in various areas, Idlib, for example, will materialize, but it won't be done. It can't be done without the help of Turkey. Ivan Trushkin and TV. Amongst what President Trump said in Warsaw, he said that the US would be interested in exporting liquefied gas to Europe. How do you assess that, especially in the light of the Northern Stream and so on? I see that as very, very positive because it's healthy competition and it is going to benefit everybody. We are for an open, competitive market. President Trump, in the course of discussion yesterday, said that he was for open and honest competition. And I fully supported that. This is certainly suits us if there is open and honest competition. And it's not politicized, orchestrated, and playing with political ploys, because the cost of production and delivery of liquefied gas from the US to Russia is much higher than our liquefied gas and is absolutely not comparable in cost terms with Russian natural gas. So we have absolutely no doubt that we have a competitive edge here. But the market must work and it must be competitive. Okay, let's have the concluding question. Telekanal Russia, after your first meeting with Trump, do you believe that he will manage to drag America out of this very difficult position of Russo-American relations? I very much hope so, and I think that the first premises for that have already been laid. Thank you.